Welcome to your April 7th, 2025 damage report. This is Tom Box from MST.TV, and if you guys want to watch this damage report, put in a lot of time and effort, hit that like button, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell, because we're going to be going over the winners, losers. We're going to be updating some of the decks as well after this. And there's also the tier list potential of which decks are going to be the major winners and survivors, the one with most potential to perform well in the upcoming future. Now, first of all, let's go over the ban list so that we're all up to speed, which looks like this. This is the entirety of the ban list. The top three columns or top three rows are all about the cards going down. We have Dweller, Shark, Bahamut Shark, the Link Decoder, Nightmare Griffin all going to 0, Bystial, Druid Swarm, Dimension Shifter, Bonfire, Triple Tactics Talents, Cross of Designator, and the Ryzeal Detonator, the boss of the format, all going down to 1, and then going down to 2, we have Ice Ryzeal, X Ryzeal, Sword Ryzeal, Maliss, Dormouse, and White Rabbit, and Maliss in Underground. And as for the bottom row here are all the cards coming back, and it's a lot of cards, okay? We have Mathmech Circular. I'm sure Joshua Schmidt is very pleased about this. He still likes the list, but he's like, that's probably the one thing that kind of irks him a little bit, but it is a crazy Maliss support. Then there's like Masterpiece. I did predict that it's going to come back. It's not going to make that significant of a difference. And then there is the Brilliant Fusion, which I did not see coming back at all, but we're playing decks with Garnets and additional normal summons are occurring everywhere now. And then there is, of course, the Snake Eye Ash, Poplar, Morphing Jar, White and Black Dragon, and the Shavar all going up to 2, and cards going up to 3, Eva, and we got full danger package of Jackalope and Tsuchinoko all back to 3, and then we have Cyber Jar and Performable Monkey Board, which no one's truly playing Pendulum, and we don't have Electromite here. But one thing I kind of want to address right away is like, parts of this list was rumored to and being spread around all over the YCS floor, and there's just people just messaging each other all over the place. Maybe someone got a glimpse of it, and maybe got a partial glimpse because the list was not full that was spread around. I honestly thought that this was just going to be another one of those cases where, you know, usually like around like ban list time, people have like speculated lists, vendors like, oh, like to hype up certain things so that maybe certain things can get bought out. But this time around it was a little bit different because it was too accurate, and I thought it was just going to be a lesson to be learned, like, oh, you know, don't jump into the hype, don't fall into the FOMO, you know, the lesson to be learned, don't waste your money. And I can't go with that story. It was kind of weird. Like, my reaction was like a bingo card of like, is everything here actually on there? And everything was. And I'm at home, not even like close to the event, and it's spread everywhere. It must have been like, oh, I'll show this one guy this thing, and then one guy spread to another guy, and then people were just like DMing each other with this stuff. It was a little bit ridiculous. That's how I made that little graphic before I managed to even do anything here. So anyways, let's talk about the actual ban list, and that was my addressing of like how this whole thing came to be. Dweller, Graveyard Shutdown. It's great that it's gone. It actually benefits a lot of Graveyard-esque decks, and a lot of the Rogue category decks even moves up because Dweller is gone. Bahamut Shark was giving access to Omni Negates, totally awesome, for basically most decks. And now with it gone, the Shark deck can't have access to it. I think that's actually one of the unfortunate collateral damage, but it takes away the Mermail access to it. Mermail being able to hand rip you, check you, and then make Toad gives them the perfect Omni Negate, and it's just ridiculous. And the hand checking plus Omni is always going to be a problem. Then there's the Link Decoder. This is a hit very similar to Link Karibo getting hit during the Rescue Ace days. Very necessary hit in my opinion, because it is the one free body that lets you extend past so many problems. And then Nightmare Griffin, people are abusing Abaku, and then it just became this thing where, yeah, we're playing Lockout.Yu-Gi-Oh all over again. They're taking this away. I think it's good because people get to play without worrying about like Link arrows to start their play. Then there's the Bystial Druid Swarm. I think it's a fine hit. I think I actually had that in my prediction list, but this card was going to go to 1 anyway. I thought the Magnum was going to ban, but Magnum's still at 1, so you still get the 1/1 combo. Some people only play 1/1 anyway. And then there is the D-Shifter at 1. This is either a sack card, or I don't know what it's going to be. Bonfire getting hit to 1 is essentially a promotion to 7 Tachyon being your key searcher card, which is a bit more fair because it's also like a neg 1 to get that search. And Bonfire was just like it's Pyro, but all of the best meta cards are right now Pyro. Triple Tactics Talent and Crossout Designator now kind of got the call by the Grave treatment, and also like Detonator going to 1. That's a very significant, but we'll talk more about that when we get to Ryzeal. And now this for the semi-limits. Okay, this is the first time in a long time these semi-limits is now used in a way that does hit consistency. These are all relatively new cards. They're all these from Crossover Breaker, and they hit it. It's been 4 months. They hit the card. You know what? This is good. It actually has significant impact on the Ryzeal side for the core main area, because it makes Pot of like Desires a lot more risky in the pure build, but they're also opening up for new cards to come in. In fact, all these semi-limits, they can all open up space for new cards to come replace them. I think half business tactic, half to satisfy the crowd and balancing the crew here. But yeah, aside from that, those are the hits here. Let's go over some winners and losers. For winners and losers, Masterpiece coming back. Of course, that's a very big win for the True Draco guys. But the true winner of this entire ban list, Fiendsmith. Fiendsmith didn't get a single card touch. In fact, a lot of people were speculating that they were gonna take a big hit because they're in Quarter Century Stampede. They saw the Engraver, and Engraver could have been the one card that would have gotten hit by the bans, because we just, based off of just patterns, something in a rarity collection that gets printed in there, gets reprinted in there, they get hit. Like Barone, Warlord Savage, they were immediately hit. And then later on, there was even like Rarity Collection 2 also had their own fair share of hits as well. And so they kind of thought Fiendsmith was going to be the one. But in terms of winners, most graveyard-based decks. Orcus is going to be benefiting once they get to play Orcus. Like Tearlaments, I don't care. Like Fire King, you get Memento, you get Blue Eyes, ABCs. These are all decks that benefit off of Dweller being gone. Well, aside from Dweller being gone, the key 3 decks that took significance, the Atlantean deck, because they don't have Toad Axis, which makes them more susceptible. There's also Ryzeal, because everything got a consistency hit there. In terms of consistency hit, you also lost like 2 Shifters, so Shifter's now a sack card. Maliss also took a slight hit. However, most of these hits, they have replacements lined up for them already, so maybe it's more of a business decision on this one, more so than previous ban lists where they just want to really adjust decks that are available. So let's take a look at the first damage report. We have Ryzeal, Pure, Water, Fiendsmith. Okay, deck damage wise, they lost 1 Ice Ryzeal, 1 Sword Ryzeal, 1 X Ryzeal, 2 Bonfires, and 2 to 3 Pot of Desires. I'll talk about that in a second, and 2 Ryzeal Detonator. In terms of deck repairs, you're likely going to shove in 7 Tachyon now. I don't think it's like even that much of a choice, because you need the consistency. This deck can break, and when you don't have a starter, it sucks. And not only that, you lost 5 starters, 2 Bonfires, and 1 of each of the key names here. That really sucks. And so you got to put 3 7 Tachyon in. However, you also probably got to be putting in a Star Ryzeal post Alliance Insight, all right? And you might be adding like the Infernal Flame Banshee, so you can search for your Pyros. And you have to also add a significant number of names, which if you take away the 2 detonators, you can definitely shove in like the Masquerade, the Battling Boxer. But of course, 7 Tachyon is still a neg 1, so it makes the entire deck overall more fair. Now, why are we taking out the Pot of Desires for like a pure build? Because the risk is now much higher that you're going to lose all copies of one name. You're not maximizing 3 copies, because you can't now. And so if you blind open and you need to play Dweller, you're definitely at risk at losing all of the names. And not only that, even if you lose one of the names, now you actually cut off certain lines. If you need to search for like, you go from Ice to Sword, and then you already banished an X. Once you search that X, or maybe you already lost a Sword, you are not gonna be able to get those lines connected. You could be disrupted just on your own because you play Pot of Desires. That is something, because don't forget, as a Ryzeal player, you do cycle through all your names. You can add all these cards into your hand after you run the combo twice over the course of 3 turns. So not sure if Desire is going to be the best play for us. As for the Ryzeal Detonator, now is extremely susceptible to Metaltronus. Metaltronus can just banish your 1 card of Detonator, and what do you actually truly have left with the deck? You have a bunch of rank 4s. Okay, that's all you have, and you need to win with a bunch of rank 4s. And if you're going to be playing 7 Tachyon, a lot of those rank 4s are getting their names eaten, and you're not having the best utility either. And so likely if you're going to be playing Ryzeal, you still have to play Detonator. But what does this mean for us? It means you need answers to Metaltronus. You need to be able to stop it. Either you're always gonna open, well, you can't go Dweller anymore, so you're probably gonna go on to the Starliege Photon Blast Dragon as a way to kind of protect it, or some people might even shift into playing Forbidden Lance, because if you Lance, you can at least protect yourself from Metaltronus. If your opponent like plays Xyz Encore, just put it back into the deck or something, or if they play say Ultimate Slayer, that's okay. That's not as bad. But you can also try to play Book of Moon. In fact, most people should be playing Book of Moon. Book of Moon is such a strong card right now, so you can keep yourself alive. And also the Fiendsmith version, since it's completely untouched, why not play that? And then, of course, you lost the Bahamut Shark line, so we don't need to talk about that. So with the final remarks here, Detonator going down to 1. This is essentially the same treatment as a Rise Hard, right? Most of the quick effect removal cards, they get limited. Like Trident was limited, Rise Hard, Detonator, Masterpiece. These are cards that were just easy access that gave you essentially just a pop 1, but it's because they're quick effects, they are now limited down to 1. I think it's fair. I mean, Detonator is by far the definitive rank 4 strongman. Okay, and overall, that consistent was hit. You know, the hand maintenance is now a lot more risky, and it's just designed for more cards to kind of come in. You know, Star Ryzeal is probably gonna come in, and overall, it's still like a super strong deck. And if you're looking into like the future, one of the things that people kind of tested out is to play with the Gaga stuff. I think it's in like Duelist Advance. Like you can actually mix it into like the Ryzeal package. Some people are trying to put Cash Tira package in here to also try it out. I think it's possible, but we'll see. But this is a significant damage. I think overall it does knock them down a peg, but the Fiendsmith version is still around. Like for Maliss, the significant loss I think in this entire deck is Link Decoder. It was just some of the most free ways to extend with the deck. It gave you access to access code when you go from like White Binder. There's just like a lot of things that it offered, and you're definitely going to feel it because you're definitely going to miss this card. And the weaker Maliss players are likely going to experience it worse because they're going to be playing into certain dead ends. Now, in terms of true deck damage here, we got 1 copy of Dormouse, 1 copy of White Rabbit, maybe 2, probably 3 copies of Shifter. I don't know if you really want to play Shifter because unlike most other hand traps where you can just draw into it and you can still play it, Shifter is likely the one that you can't. You've loaded yourself with a graveyard. You can't play it anymore. So that's like gonna be one of the biggest limitations here. So it's likely going to be all 3 copies gone. Yeah, I'm not sure if you really want to play one in your side, because if you choose to side this card, you better be using it as like a full-on turn skip, and you can pair it with other turn skips in the deck like Mulcharmies, and you're playing against I don't know, Mermails, something like that, so you can just blow them out. In that case, sure, keep 1. 1 Bystial Druid Worm. I mean, that takes away like answers for the Ryzeal Detonators, but at the same time, Detonators at 1, so, and some people just play like 1/1 as an engine, or for Maliss, you're gonna be playing like a 1/5, whatever it may be. And then there's also like Nightmare Griffin and Baoku. Those are gone because, you know, that lock's not fun, and likely Maliss is the reason why they got banned in the first place. But in terms of deck repair, this deck has its entire future already lined up for it. It's built for success. You've got Maliss, a March Hare coming in, and Maliss March Hare is going to be pretty intense because it provides you with additional summons. There's more body, and whatever name that you lost previously, you can now replace it right here. You also get Maliss in the Mirror that provides you with a banish and negation against some of your opponent's cards, and that's so you can actually use this to dodge stuff. And yeah, you lost Maliss in the underground. So in terms of consistency hit, 1, 2, 3, essentially 1 extender, and you're gonna get it to replace it with, well, 1, a Mathmech engine, because Mathmech Circular is back, and it is a very, very beneficial card for Maliss if you actually been paying attention to OCG lists. And there's also the Ad Ignister package, namely Backup and Wizard. These are insanely good, and yeah, it's gonna let Maliss combo probably harder than ever. So yeah, that's going to be one of the key things here. But overall, I think Maliss right now taking these hits, it's going to be just a consistency hit overall. Shifter is going to likely not going to be played in this deck overall, unless it's just like a side option for a specific matchup for turn skipping. But until then, you know, we're just gonna wait out these training filler arc for Maliss, just so that Maliss can eventually become the best deck of the format again. Then there's Atlantean Mermail. So the significant here is that there's the Bahamut Shark that's taking a significant hit. There's 2 copies that's going to get removed out of the deck, and 2 totally awesome because, well, you can't summon anymore. And there's also 1 more card, Abyss Dweller. That would have been like a pretty easy go-to card for Atlantean Mermail, because they could use that to still detach the Dragoons off, right? But now that they can't do that, they have to find another water rank 4 Xyz to detach for Dragoon to get those free searches. I'm not sure if it's worth it, but ultimately, one thing that is good is that the Dweller is gone. Now, if Dweller was in the format, yeah, you can make Dweller yourself, but your opponent can also make it against you, and that probably hurts you a lot more. So I don't know what you really want here. In terms of loss, totally awesome lines are gone, and therefore, if you have a mixed hand of board breakers, Minstrel, whatever her name is, the hand ripper, if they see multiple things, it's going to be putting them at so much risk. They need to establish some level of negation. Otherwise, the evenly match is going to wipe their board. The Nibiru is going to chew through the board. The Drone Lockbird is going to not let you build the board. You can even play the stuff like Dark Hole or Regeki, and that still wipes the board because there's nothing to really protect your cards anymore. Yeah, very big limitation. You might have to play like that Pitchfork to maybe keep your cards alive, but aside from that, it's a tough time being an Atlantean Mermail player. And it was such a strong deck too for going first or second, and you can bypass a lot of the problems. And double hand trap 100% is going to be like a very big problem, or hand trap with a board breaker, also a big problem. Yeah, they lost their Omni Negate. Overall, the Omni Negate is gone, and going first is going to be tougher than ever. They're going to be still able to set up like Disruption through like Abyss Rhine, because the Send to the Graveyard effect is very much legit, and there's usually a lot of like additional follow-up that you can probably do with your cards. But for now, man, looking at this thing, going second, still very powerful. It's going to break your board. It's going to OOTK, but going first, you're going to have to build an interactive board rather than one that hand rips your opponent and then just wins the game by setting up Omni Negates. Now, I want to talk about some noteworthy changes here. There's like Nightmare Griffin, there's Crossout Designator, Triple Tactics Talent, Abyss Dweller. Like, these are quite significant, but let's talk about the hand traps first. Hand traps are looking very strong with the limitation of Crossout Designator and Triple Tactics Talent. You're less at risk of getting, you know, hand ripped by Triple Tac. I mean, sure, it still exists. You could still run into like Triple Tactics Thrust into Talent, which is fair, and it is what it is when it comes to that. But they've already minimized it so that, activating an Ash at the wrong time or activating an Ash, you're less likely going to get punished by Triple Tactics Talent. And Crossout Designator makes it so that you're likely going to see it in more and more decks. As the format gets more and more defined, and the hand trap pool starts to kind of, we know which ones are the best ones within the meta, Crossout Designator is likely going to be a main deck card, and it's kind of like a shift over from like OCG, TCG. It's going to be going in that direction, okay? That's how I see it, because why would I not play it when it can just answer one of the biggest problems? It can answer my opponent's Nibiru, for instance. And it's just a nice card to have. Remember how Crossout Designator combined with Triple Tactics Talent has always been like an FTK almost, because they lose a card for the thing that you negated with Crossout Designator, and then you also get to hand rip them after the fact. It was very, very brutal. Now, as for Nightmare Griffin being gone, most people that tech a Baoku might have to tech a Baoku for other things, or maybe just remove those 2 cards entirely and just fill it with a more better utility toolbox in the extra deck. Now, with Dweller being gone, the decks that are going to thrive: Fiendsmith, obviously, Memento, so much graveyard activation, Fire Kings, Crystron, also another deck that requires the graveyard, Atlantean Mermail. Sure, they like to play the card, but they don't like the card playing against them, so that kind of give and take, considering that they lost most of their Toads. Then there's Telements, Chimera, ABC. These are all graveyard-centric decks. And finally, there's also Bahamut Shark getting banned. Water for utilities are no longer available to getting free access to Totally Awesome. Boards are ultimately just going to be significantly weaker, making board breakers just that much stronger. Now, there's also like Brilliant Fusion. I'm not sure people are really going to play Brilliant Fusion. You have to like Garnet of all things, and it feels really, really bad. And, you know, people already complain like, oh Tom, you're playing your ABC deck, it's not doing very good, you have so many bricks. Yeah, people complain about like that. I don't think people are going to make that big of a difference with shoving in a Brilliant Fusion, unless whatever that they play Brilliant Fusion for, whatever they toss into the graveyard, is capable of synergizing, right? If it can synergize and basically turn it into a Foolish Burial, by all means, it's going to be a crazy card. Tier list potential. Is your deck gonna do well, or do I think it's gonna do bad? Well, if I think it's gonna do bad, it's probably not even on this list, because everything here has potential. Top tier potential, high tier potential, and then there is the hidden potential. This isn't, of course, how they're going to perform. It's just expected performance, not the actual performance, because, you know, high tiers, they can take events. Even hidden tier potential can also take events. It's just that they're just not as solved, and you just don't know so much about them. But in terms of like top tier potential, Maliss is expected to make a full recovery once Alliance Insight comes out, whether it be Fiendsmith or Bystial. It doesn't really matter, especially Fiendsmith being just so popular now. You're likely going to see them around a lot, even during their training arc of recovery. And there's Ryzeal Fiendsmith. I mean, the whole ban list seems to be pushing us towards playing Fiendsmith Ryzeal anyway. Even if it is with one detonator, people are going to have to adapt to the one detonator play. It's just like how most people adapted to the one Arise Heart when Kashtira still had Arise Heart. Same thing. Yes, Arise Heart, a little bit easier to kind of play around. But when it came to detonator, if it's gone, it's gone. You're not going to be able to recover it. It's going to suck. So you're going to be able to find different ways to protect it. Just how we found different ways to protect one Arise Heart. As for pure Ryzeal, you're likely going to still see them around. They're going to need a couple extra tech cards to replace the stuff that's missing until the new cards come out. Yeah, I think it's good that it's kind of limited down. Fire Kings, it was graveyard affected by the Abyss Dwellers, and if people just constantly summon stuff in defense mode, they really struggle to kind of get their stuff getting off the ground or even out of the graveyard. And Dweller was just another thing that just was super annoying. With Dweller gone, not so bad. Not only is it Dweller being gone, but also Shifter going to 1. Likely we're going to see a lot less of Shifter. And kind of in the same category, Memento. Memento needs their graveyard to play, and without Dweller, man, is it just gonna be that much easier to just full combo against your opponent. And also, Memento, congratulations to Pascal, you won the entirety of YCS Houston. So that goes to show that the balance is also going to be in your favor. It's going to make Memento going to a locals near you, essentially. And then there is the Atlantean Mermail. Now, I thought that was going to be in the top tier potential, but after giving it some thought, it needs a little bit of rework in the going first position, as well as the board building phase, because the lack of Toad makes it so that if someone double hand traps you, and you even with the hand rip that you might have, you're going to get hit by like Nibiru, you get hit by a Droll, you could get hit by a Lightning Storm, a board breaker, and all of a sudden everything is dead because you don't have an Omni Negate. But I still think that going first board, you can still do something significant where you build boards that have interaction, like the Rhines in the graveyard. Maybe you have something on the field that can chain. Whatever that you build, as long as you can get there with like multiple disruption and board building and chump blocking capacity, then Atlantean Mermail will still stick around, because they're still some of the best board breakers in the entire game. They are one of the few decks that are able to use in-engine cards to take out an entire Ryzeal board. So there's that. Now, as for Labyrinth, Kai Huang also managed to top 8 with Labyrinth while in full cosplay of Arius. You know what? Gotta give credit where credit is due. If you're a very skilled Labyrinth pilot, your ability to use the correct trap cards can answer the meta, and that's why it's here. And then there's also like White Forest Azumina with Fiendsmith. They didn't really get touched at all, so they're sticking around, and they are one of the decks that just keeps on pushing if they have gas. Then there's the Tomb Keeper Odeon decks, whether it be Blue Eyes, whether it doesn't really matter which one you are playing. It's a scary deck, but it still has a lot of vulnerability, and I'm probably gonna do like a ruling video regarding them, just so that you know how to deal with them. Some people are just losing because they just don't understand how cards work, and we're just gonna make that a little bit harder for these guys. Kashtira Fiendsmith, that's just a war crime deck of a stun deck with big bodies. I don't know, not much more I can say. Kashtira is not even that much more touched than they are right now, and this is the one Floodgate-esque deck that people do play. And then we got the Blue Eyes deck. Probably Blue Eyes is going to be sticking around for some time now. It's the one like structure deck, competitive deck that we have, and I think it's just going to get stronger. I think there's like more stuff to go into that deck in the near future. Christian, another graveyard based deck that's going to get significant boost with the removal of D-Shifter, with the removal of the Abyss Dweller. It's just going to be that much easier. So the Tristaros is going to resolve. They're going to be able to resolve the Sulfador. It's going to be a very big problem. Now in terms of hidden tier potential, we got ABC XYZ Fiendsmith. This is a deck that I've been playing. Yes, this is the one personal pick that I'm going to leave in hidden potential. Once you figure out how to play that deck, being able to play through Shifter, Droll, and the Ash and the Imperm, it feels pretty good, especially when you develop really odd boards. The weirdest boards you can build, it requires like a very specifically sculpted hand, but you can get like 4 Omni Negates and then have the Banish for ABC. That is the cringe hand that you can get if you have like the perfect hand, and it also requires your opponent to attempt to break your board with a Nibiru too, but that's the weird one. Also Drytron, again, a lot of these decks in the hidden potential just had significant advantage due to the Dweller being gone, and then also Shifter being gone, and therefore you're able to play your decks without worrying about those 2 particular things. I mean, you can still get hit by Macrocosmos if, you know, people choose to side that card. But Drytron, again, you activate a lot of stuff in your graveyard. Not only you activate stuff in the graveyard, you also have a lot of like graveyard-based energy, so you don't have to lose all those cards. So from like Shifter, that's why I think this is scary. With Eva also going to 3, we could go back into the good old days of early days, Master Duel, 1 negate for every card in your hand. It's possible. I'm just saying it's possible. And then there's Chimera, Fiendsmith, Azamina. It's just a personal pick. It is still a very strong deck, and now even stronger with Duke of Demise. And then there's Sky Striker Tenpai. This is the going second, I'm going to OTK you no matter what. Yeah, it's very strong. And they also main deck like Ultimate Slayers, which makes things even more difficult. But again, it is a deck that I'm going to dig out Chandra and I'm going to end the game. Then there's Fiendsmith Yubel. With this one made a significant top at the YCS Houston, so I'm not going to write it off. And finally, the one odd pick here is going to be Thunder Dragons. You have 2 copies of White Dragon, 2 copies of Black Dragon. That means your Battery Man Solars have something to pair with for once. Okay, so there's that. And it can combo up. Although it's kind of weird because like back then, you can also combo into like an Appaloosa or something like that. Did we have Appaloosa? I can't quite remember, but it was significant. All right, it was a significant thing that you can climb up to, and on top of that, you also have the full package of Danger. Remember Danger? Thunder Dragon was like one of the best decks. I think you're kind of close to kind of reviving that entire package. But if I missed any decks, well, leave it down in the comment section below. These are the decks that I believe have hidden potential, high tier potential, and top tier potential. And in the future, you got Dragon Tail and K9 that's likely to come into the mix, and probably even Yummy in there as well. So we got a lot of like upcoming decks that are likely going to show a lot of promise in which deck are you guys gonna play. If I missed your deck, leave it down in the comment section. I'll try to get to you what I think about those decks, and maybe there are also some secret hidden underdog that could probably take another YCS title. But until then, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the damage report. There's gonna be some significant changes in terms of deck building thanks to this particular ban list hitting things the way that they did. The triple tax, the crossouts. I think it's a good time to actually get into Yu-Gi-Oh! For once. Yeah, anyways, that's how I feel, and that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.